Good morning, everyone. Welcome to JDB's Morning Cap. Today is Monday, May 18th, 2026. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. Today is the day, because this is a big week. We all know that. I'm glad that NBA conference semifinals is officially over. Conference finals starts tonight. I'll talk about that a little bit later on this show. I know how much I'm looking forward to this. So there's a lot going on. So we're going to get this thing started. But first, we're going to start with the NFL. Breaking news in the NFL. The Pittsburgh Steelers have brought Aaron Rodgers back for one more year. So Aaron Rodgers returns back to Pittsburgh. It happened last Saturday. So it happened. The returning of re-signing of Aaron Rodgers happened last Saturday. I believe last Saturday early evening, when Aaron Rodgers re-signed him for one more year with the Pittsburgh Steelers to at least reunite his former coach of the Green Bay Packers. Mike McCarthy is now a head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the odds before returning of Aaron Rodgers is one of the least favorites to win division. And now, when Rodgers comes back, a slightly up, one of the favorites to win the AFC North, but the best favorite to win the North is the Ravens. Plan B is the Cincinnati Bengals, despite the 6-11 record the previous year. So, how they brought Aaron Rodgers back? Well, he wants to get to the Super Bowl with Mike McCarthy. He's won a Super Bowl with the Packers in 2010-11 season, when Mike McCarthy was a Packers head coach and when Aaron Rodgers was a quarterback. Charles Woodson was part of the Packers championship run. Even the Packers didn't win the division. The Bears won division. Ironically, the Packers played the Bears in the NFC Championship game in 2010-2011 season, and the Packers beat the Bears. That's how good Aaron Rodgers were back then. He's won several MVPs, like four of them. He's won 4 NFL MVPs, all with Green Bay. He's won a Super Bowl MVP. He's won a Super Bowl in his career. He's one of the most winningest quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. He's one of the best passing touchdowns in the history of the game, along with Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and the list goes on and on. We've seen several quarterbacks and some older generations like Brees, Brady, Manning, both Mannings, Peyton and Eli, and then Rodgers. They're all legends. Aaron Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer, no doubt. I mean, there's some kind of way you can get a respect from everybody else about the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know what? The Packers have been historical franchise, same as the Steelers. The Steelers have the most winning records in NFL history. They own that. The Steelers have the most winning records in NFL history. Like most winning seasons in NFL history. Including 22 consecutive years without a losing record. 22 consecutive seasons have been finished the season 500 or greater. The last time the Steelers had a losing record, I believe, was 2003. In 2003, the Steelers went 6-10. You know what? That was the last time they had a losing record. LeBron James was drafted with the Cleveland Cavaliers. What happened in 2003, as far as I'm concerned? Carson Palmer was the #1 pick of the 2003 draft with the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a Steve Bartman Game 6. It was Steve Bartman incident. The Cubs fan, Steve Bartman, interfered the catch on a foul ball play in Game 6 of the National League Championship Series against the Florida Marlins. The Cubs had a chance to clinch. They couldn't win both of those games. They ended up losing in 7 games in the NLCS. And then that's the last time the Steelers had a losing record. It was 2003, 6-10. And I believe I was 4 years old. The last time the Steelers had a losing record when I was 4 years old. When the Steelers had a losing record. So that's that. Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so the question right now, Mike McCarthy's coaching record, it's combined with the Packers and the Cowboys. Coaching record, including playoffs. So record overall 185. So the record for Mike McCarthy is 185 wins, 123 losses, and 2 ties. And the winning percentage is .600, which is pretty good. 18 seasons as head coach. Regular season record, 174 wins, 112 losses, and 2 ties, which is a .608 winning percentage in the regular season. Postseason though, 11-11, which is .500. So not successful postseason by any means, but he did win the Super Bowl with Green Bay as head coach. Mike McCarthy as a Cowboys head coach in the playoffs, just 1-3. As Cowboys head coach, 49-35 in the regular season, 50-38 overall, 1-3 in the playoffs in his career as a Cowboys, including 3 12-plus win seasons for Mike McCarthy between from 2021 through 2023 season. And the Cowboys won 2 divisions over that. Cowboys have won 2 divisions in 5 Mike McCarthy seasons. He's made it 3 playoffs 3 times over his 5-season tenure with Dallas. So it's about the quarterback and the head coach relationship between Rodgers and McCarthy. Can they get on the same page? This is going to be challenging to start the season. Connection is going to be challenging. What the Steelers have to do to get to this point and be consistent. It's about consistency. It's about consistency right now. That's the big question right now. You got to take care of yourself. That's critical. So Aaron Rodgers returns back to Pittsburgh. Hopefully he comes back in the training camp. Some new guys, few guys return, but the Steelers, it's going to be a long season for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And try to make some connections. All right, let's move on. Let's get to Major League Baseball. I haven't talked Major League Baseball in a while since that time. The Yankees squared off against the Mets in a 3-game Subway Series. Yesterday was a final game of the 3-game Subway Series. On Friday, Yankees beat the Mets 5-2 on May 15th. And then May 16th, which is a Saturday, Mets beat the Yankees 6-3, Game 2. Then Game 3, it was eruption. It was a late-inning eruption in New York City. The Yankees were up 6-3, going to the bottom of the ninth. The Mets had two on with 2 outs with Tyrone Taylor coming to the bat. Tyrone Taylor crushes one to left field, and then Tyrone Taylor hits a game-tying 3-run home run to make it 6-6. And then the Yankees failed to score in extra innings in the 10th inning. And then the bottom of the 10th, with the first and third with 1 out, Carson Bench hits a ground ball towards second base. There's a partial collision between these two infielders. I believe it's Volpe and Chisholm were colliding each other. And somehow Marcus Semien scores the winning run. Carson Bench gets a game-winning RBI fielder's choice as the Mets still stole the series from the Yankees 7-6 in 10 innings. And Tyrone Taylor hit a game-tying home run off of the closer, David Bednar. He had a blown save. Tim Hill was a losing record for the Yankees. Ex-Yankee closer Devin Williams was the winning pitcher of the New York Mets. The Mets, by the way, they had a rough month of April. So far, the Mets have a solid month of May. The New York Mets in month of May, the Mets are 10-5 in the month of May. So the Mets have gone from the worst record in baseball to a 10-5 record in the month of May. So what a turnaround for the New York Mets. Their offense is starting to come on as of late. The pitching is coming. The defense will improve down the stretch. When they got Juan Soto back from the injury list, the Mets are going to be better. They're going to get better. The Phillies have played much better baseball when Thompson got fired. Now the Mets have played better baseball. Meanwhile, for the Yankees have been completely opposite. They have lost 7 of their last 9, including a 2-7 road trip. Start off getting swept by the Brewers, including 2 heartbreaking walk-off losses No, 3. They give up 2 walk-offs to the Brewers in games 2 and 3. They were swept, by the way. Yankees were swept by the Brewers. Jacob Rossi dominant, ended up shutting out the Yankees. And then Weathers had a no-hitter. He had a no-hitter going against the Orioles to open up that series, and the Yankees were up 2-0. And then before he gives up a first hit in the 7th inning, and then Mayo hit a 3-run shot for the Orioles to earn the 3-2 victory. And then the Yankees lost 2 out of 3 to the Orioles. And then Yankees got back on track and took game 1. And then the Yankees lost the next 2 games, including a heartbreaker in game 3. Yankees have 3 walk-off losses, part of this 9-game road trip. 2 against the Brewers and 1 against the Mets. The Yankees have played unacceptable baseball, especially the back end of the bullpen. The Yankees bullpen has really struggled. David Bednar is having a terrible road trip. He gave up a walk-off home run to Terrain against the Brewers on May 10th. And then he gave up a game-tying 3-run shot to Tyrone Taylor of the New York Mets. They were 1 out away to take this series from the Mets. Instead, they're going to finish 2-7 on this 9-game trip. To make matters worse, Yankees will kick off a 4-game set against the Blue Jays. This is the Blue Jays team. They won 2 out of 3 in Detroit. So I understand this is crucial for the Yankees. They have a 7-game homestand. They got Toronto for 4 and Tampa Bay Rays for 3. The Rays are currently first place in the American League East Division. And the Rays are 30-15 on the season. 30-15 Rays. And they're sitting first place. Despite the injuries, despite the little name talent, June Caminero is the big star for the Rays. The Yankees have more star talent than anybody else in the entire baseball. Aaron Judge is the best player in the game. He's a true leader. The Yankees had everything to go their way on this trip. They struggled to close out games for a high-leverage contending team. The Yankees did add somebody last year at the deadline. They had bullpen help, Duvall and Bednar. They were supposed to be smart for the Yankees pen. But the biggest question mark, now Aaron Boone has to find a way to get a closer by committee. David Bednar has got to be out of the closer's role. Would you put Camille Duvall in the closer's role, or would you put Fernando Cruz in the mix? Or you could put, or is a closer by committee? The bullpen, that's something they really need to address. Should the Yankees make a move for the bullpen help? Well, it depends on the next couple of months. If they do need some bullpen spark, if they add a true closer, maybe that or a setup man, that would be a huge call for Brian Cashman. I believe he's the GM of the Yankees right now, but Yankees offense is the main reason for their struggles on this trip. They have not scored a lot of runs on this trip. So let's take a look at the Yankees' runs during this 9-game trip. So let's see how that come out here in this one. Yankees The road trip began on May 8th. Yankees scored 0, 3, 3, that's 6. And then 2, that's 8, 6, 14. Another 0. So it stays at 14. And then 9, that's 5, that's 19. And then 3, 22. And 6. So the Yankees scored 28 runs. What is 28 divided by 9? Shoot. They averaged 3 runs a game, 3.1 runs a game during this 9-game stretch on the road. That's not good. And 2 shutout losses. They got shut out by the Brewers. They got shut out by the Orioles. That is not good. They averaged 3 runs a game in over the last 9 games. And the runners in scoring position, not very good. They hit under 200 runners in scoring position. And runners in scoring position with 2 outs is way worse. Under 150 when runners in scoring position with 2 outs. That just cannot happen. Something's wrong with the New York Yankees. They can't afford another weak conference. The American League Conference is weak right now. The American League Central is weak. The American League West is weak right now. This is a really bad conference right now for the American League. When June comes on, somebody has to have a 10-game winning streak for the rest of the American League. Because I don't give a damn which team who's going to be on this winning streak right now. Get it done. Coming next, speaking of get it done, can the Cleveland Cavaliers get it done on the road in game? Did the Cleveland Cavaliers get the job done in Game 7 in Detroit? Or Detroit pull off another trailing series comeback? That will come up down there. Also coming up next on JDB's Morning Cap, we're also going to talk about the Western Conference Finals and who won the MVP. And also coming up, we'll have the top 6 NFL reunion games for 2026. We will step away right after this. All right, welcome back here. Welcome to JDB's Morning Cap. Last night, Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The Pistons took Game 6 on the road. Pistons took Game 6 on the road on May 15th. 115-94 was the final score in Game 6 in favor of the Pistons. The Cavaliers did not close out in Game 6. However, the Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 7, Donovan Mitchell led the way with 26 points. Jared Allen had 23 points. Evan Mobley had 21. Sam Merrill had 23 off the bench. And by the way, the Cavaliers shot 51% from the field. They held the Pistons to 35% from the field and 31% from downtown, as the as the Cavaliers takes the series 4-3, and they will move on to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018. Oh, by the way, Donovan Mitchell makes the conference finals for the first time in his career. So, congratulations to Donovan Mitchell. All right, here's my question. Did the Cavaliers dominate, or the Pistons just didn't show up? Well, we'll talk the Pistons in just a moment. talk to Detroit Pistons in just a moment about that. The Cavaliers with a dominant victory on the road. Something they gotta hang their hats on. But like I said, it's gonna make a path a whole lot easier about that day. The Cleveland Cavaliers, I believe they were 0-5 on the road. They won their last 2 road games. So, I'll tell you what, we know how Cleveland's going to respond, right? They were down 2-0, won 4 of their next 5. I mean, we've just been talking about the Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell, that's exactly what he needs to accomplish. Get into the conference. You know what's ironic? Donovan Mitchell has made a conference finals. Then Joel Embiid has none. That's shocking. I mean, yeah, it is shocking. Now Donovan Mitchell gets the conference finals opportunity, and then Joel Embiid doesn't get his opportunity. If Joel Embiid walks out by retirement, he could be one of the only players in NBA history to win a league MVP without making the conference finals or NBA finals. That is a rare history for Joel Embiid. But I'm not gonna disrespect Joel Embiid like this. I wouldn't do this. But I respect Donovan Mitchell. He needs to go to the conference finals. That's his goal. James Harden, I know he struggled in Game 7s in his career. Another Game 7 struggle for James Harden. He hasn't shot the ball well. But so far, James Harden's 2-0, despite the inefficient shooting in his last 2 Game 7s so far, his first 2 Game 7s this year. Meanwhile, for Detroit, despite the fact Detroit didn't show up last night, there was some encouraging signs for Detroit come in the regular season and some parts of the postseason. Well, Detroit, with a promising season, 60-22, 60-22 record, which is the best of the East, number 1 seed. So what the Pistons did wrong, I would say throughout the postseason, what went wrong so far in some parts of the postseason? Well, it's been turnovers, we've seen several hard-headed turnovers, especially Cade Cunningham. He had some big moments in the playoffs. At least you won a first-round series, but you almost won the second round. So the Game 5 was a big missed opportunity to reclaim the series lead. Game 5 was a missed opportunity to reclaim the series lead. They had a chance. They did get it back in Game 6 to even up that series, and then Then the luck ran out last night. Cade Cunningham 13 points, 5 for 16 shooting. Dennis Jenkins just 4 for 12 shooting, 17 points. He led the team last night. Duncan Robinson was consistent, 13 points, 4 for 7, 3 for 5 from downtown. The Pistons just couldn't get anything going offensively last night. It was tough. It's tough to get through that. We've seen future star players have struggled. And we've seen top 2 seeds have struggled in Game 7s. The chance to get to the conference or NBA Finals. Celtics did that 3 years ago. When the Celtics were trailing 3-0, they came back and tied it. And in Game 7, what happened? Jason Tatum got hurt in opening minutes to start the game, and then the Celtics team were never the same, and they ended up losing Game 7 to Miami Heat. The Cavaliers, for the Pistons, they were close. The game was close through the first several minutes, and before the Cavaliers the Pistons just never got it, finding their groove offensively. What positives I took away? There's a handful of positives. I thought Cunningham and the role players have been consistent, but these guys are just playing very well. But Jalen Duren is having a rough postseason. Jalen Duren is having a rough postseason. Another single-digit points for Jalen Duren. That's 7 games in this postseason when Durant scored fewer than 10 points. He's just not been aggressive offensively and defensively. Jalen Duren has been a fantasy player disappointment. He's the biggest disappointing player in the playoffs. Is Jalen Duren. He's been a big time disappointment. But I appreciate the Pistons. They got to the second round, but they almost got it. I think they'll be back next year. If they can get past Boston, New York, and Cleveland otherwise, they can get to the finals and hopefully they can win a championship someday. Bickerstaff has done a great job to put this young core together. You gotta give Bickerstaff a lot of credit. There was a lot of positives they can take away. The way they accomplished in this year's regular season. Better, much improved record than the previous year. They got to the playoffs. This season, they proved to be the best team in the East. But the conference finals run comes up, possible championship run, a path to the NBA Finals for the Pistons coming up short in 7 games against the Cavs. So there's nothing else you can really appreciate that you do. All right, come next on JDB's Morning Cap, we'll talk about top 6 reunion games, like revenge games in 2026. The player or coach who's facing his former team. The current player who's facing his former team, current coach or coaching assistant will facing his former team. We'll talk about that. And also coming up next, we will preview the Western Conference Finals and also who won the 2025-26 Most Valuable Player. It could be convincing. We'll be right back. Welcome back to JDB's Morning Cap. All right, so we're going to look the top 6. We're going to see the reunion games. Games for 2026. And player who's facing the top 6 best reunion games. So we'll see how this is going to go. Here are my top 6 reunion games for 2026. So here we go. Oh, here. So, number 6, I'm going to go with Malik Willis and Jeff Hafley. Dolphins will travel to the Green Bay Packers. The game will be in Green Bay on December 20th. I believe that's week 15. Yep, it'll be week 15. Dolphins at Packers in Green Bay. Jeff Hafley will coach against his former team. Malik Willis will face his former team of the Green Bay Packers in week 15. And then Kenneth Walker, number 5. Number 5 is Trey. Number 5 is Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones of the Indianapolis Colts will face his former team, the New York Giants, on November 29th, which is week 12. It'll be the Giants at the Colts in Indianapolis. Daniel Jones will face his former team in Indianapolis, the New York Giants. That's number 5. Number 4. Number 4. This is interesting. This is surprising. Number 4. This is a surprising one of the. Number 4. Number 4, Jawan Jennings of the Minnesota Vikings will face the San Francisco 49ers. Jawan Jennings of the Minnesota Vikings will face the 49ers in Mexico City in week 11 on November 23rd. On November 23rd, the Vikings and 49ers, Jawan Jennings will face his former team. Jawan Jennings with the Minnesota Vikings will face the 49ers. That's number 4. Number 3. Interesting here. Number 3. Jesse Minter will face his former team, the Los Angeles Chargers. Jesse Minter was a former Chargers defensive coordinator. It'll be November 16th, 2026. Ravens will face the Chargers on November 16th, week 10 on Monday Night Football. Jesse Minter will face his former team. the Los Angeles Chargers. Jesse Minter was a former Chargers defensive coordinator. Also, it will be Jim Harbaugh. Yeah. So, John Harbaugh is fired. So, Jesse Minter will face his former team. That's number 3. And then number 2 is Trey Hendrickson. Will face his former employer. And they'll see him twice. The first matchup will be October 25th. It will be the Bengals at the Ravens on October 25th, which is week 7. And then 10 weeks later, week 17 on December 31st, New Year's Eve. Trey Hendrickson returns to Cincinnati on December 31st, 2026. The last day of 2026 is New Year's on Thursday night. That's number 2. And number 1, Kenneth, reigning Super Bowl MVP, Kenneth Walker with the Kansas City Chiefs will return to Seattle on October 25th on Sunday Night Football. Kenneth Walker of the Chiefs will face his former team, the reigning Super Bowl MVP. Kenneth Walker will face the Seahawks on October 25th of this year. That's my top 6 reunion games of 2026. All right, so when we come back, we'll talk Western Conference Finals. Game 1 starts tonight between the Spurs and the Thunder. The game is in Oklahoma City. And who won the NBA MVP last night? We'll find out right after the break. Welcome back here. Last night, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins his second consecutive MVP for the second year in a row. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, in the regular season, he's averaged 31 points a game, shooting 55% from the field, 39% from long range, 88% at the line, 6 assists per game, averaged 1 steal game, and close to 1 block per game. And his plus minus, which is plus over 11 and a half, over plus 11 and a half. And he's played 68 games last season. 68 games in the regular season this year. So far in this playoffs, SGA has 4 30-plus point games in the playoffs. So, did the league get it right that SGA wins back-to-back MVPs? Yes, they did. Shai is the best player in the NBA, again. But I have few honorable mentions, like Victor Wembanyama. Looked like Victor Wembanyama could have won the MVP. Nikola Jokic, but he missed games with the injury. Wembanyama missed a handful of games because of injury. And you got Luka Doncic. He failed to reach 65 game rule, but he still qualified. He came up short. But SGA is clearly the best player in the league. And he won the MVP. And there's no getting around it. There's nothing else you can take away from. Victor, if you say SGA, he's the greatest player in the game in the NBA today. We talk about all this. We did it. SGA has done every single way right now. And now SGA is now carried this team to the Western Conference Finals for the second year in a row. Speaking of Western Conference Finals, it starts tonight. It will be the San Antonio Spurs will visit the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma City, Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. So how these two got there? The Thunder are 8-0 in the playoffs. They swept the Suns in the first round, and they swept the Lakers in the previous round, the semifinals. How the Spurs got to the Western Conference Finals? Spurs won in 5 games against the Blazers in the first round. Spurs won in 6 games against the Timberwolves in the second round of the semifinals. So you talk about the start of the San Antonio Spurs. How the San Antonio Spurs can stop Oklahoma City Thunder. Think about it. The Spurs are 4-1 in the regular season against the Thunder, including the in-season tournament semifinal, Christmas Day. We've seen several wins against good teams. Spurs have a ton of success against greater than 500. If they want to have success against the Thunder, Victor Wembanyama has to play great on defense. He's done that all year long. He's already won Defensive Player of the Year this year. Can he take a huge step forward? Can they pass the big-ass test against the reigning NBA champions of the Oklahoma City Thunder? If they can do that, the Spurs will win a championship. If that's the case, the Spurs are going to, I would say, easily going to win a championship. They can win the championship. And that's the golden thing. That's a one-way street. You do everything wherever you're asking for it. San Antonio Spurs. I love them. I love the Spurs to the death, man. Mitch Johnson's done a great job. And now, the Coach of the Year is still up for grabs. But it looks like JB Biggerstaff is going to win the 2026 Coach of the Year. When I didn't mention it on the previous segments, Biggerstaff, I believe that he won the Coach of the Year. So that will mark yourself a golden opportunity to make it happen. Meanwhile, for the Oklahoma City Thunder, Thunder has the best record in the NBA for the second year in a row. They've been a number 1 seed over the last 3 seasons. And they got to the conference finals in 2 of the last 3 seasons. They won the title last year, and now they're trying to run it back. They need 8 more wins to do that. We've seen in decade of 2020s, we've seen repeat champions. Tampa Bay Lightning did it in the NHL. The Dodgers did it in 2025, did it last year. Chiefs did it a couple of years ago. And will the Thunder do it here this year? They need to get past San Antonio, and they need to be either New York Knicks or the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers and Knicks are in the Eastern Conference Finals. The series starts tomorrow. So Game 1 is going to be critical. So if that's the case, then that will have to get this job done. If that's going to be the case here tonight. Who do you think? And update for Jalen Williams. possibly going to return tonight or game 2. So if they bring Jalen Williams back tonight, that is huge. He hasn't played since game 2 of the first round. So Jalen J.W. Williams has struggled with his health so far this year. He's missed majority of his games this year. But tonight, who do you think who takes game 1 of the West Finals? Spurs or the Thunder? I'm going to take Spurs winning tonight in game 1. Who I like to win this series? I like the Spurs in 6. I like Spurs winning in 6. 6 games. I think they can overmatch the Thunder. Let's see how they can do it here in this one here. All right, let's close it out. What's coming up on JDB's morning cap? Tomorrow, I will recap tonight's game 1 between the Spurs and the Thunder in the Western Conference Finals. Tomorrow, I will preview the Knicks and the Cavaliers in New York, game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Western Conference Finals for the Spurs and Thunder will be televised on NBC and Peacock all series long. For the Eastern Conference Finals between Cavaliers and the Knicks, it will be televised on ESPN and ABC. ESPN for most of the series. The only ABC game is Game 3 in Cleveland this Saturday. So we'll talk all that, and then we'll talk some more NFL. I'll talk some more NFL as they're going back to work around next month. All right, that's it, man. This is JDB's Morning Cap. We'll be back at it tomorrow. Enjoy your rest of your Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.